The market to buy fresh fish. He asks the shopkeeper for the biggest fish available, but the shopkeeper claims he has none. Moments later, Sky arrives, and the shopkeeper immediately hands him the biggest fish. Furious, Paul confronts him, but the shopkeeper, afraid of losing a loyal customer, cuts the fish in half and gives one piece to each chef. Soon after, Paul opens his new restaurant with great celebration. The place shines with luxury, expensive furniture, elegant decor, and excited customers lining up to enter. But there is one major problem. Sky's restaurant is directly across the street. Watching customers rush into Paul's place, Sky's friend steps outside and loudly announces a special offer. Today, everything is 50% off. The crowd instantly changes direction and floods into Sky's restaurant. Paul becomes annoyed, and before long, arguments break out between Sky's friends and Paul's team. As the tension rises, Sky and Paul finally stand face to face. The people around them suggest that instead of fighting, they should compete, chef against chef. At first, both decline, but under pressure, they eventually agree. In the middle of the street, a dramatic fish cutting competition begins. Paul takes the lead, showcasing his refined European technique. He removes each bone with delicate precision, then tosses the clean fish toward Sky. Sky catches it smoothly and begins cutting with unbelievable speed. His style is old school, sharp, clean, artistic. In seconds, he separates the skin, slices perfect pieces, and completes the task with breathtaking skill. The crowd erupts in applause. The chief guest from Paul's restaurant steps forward and announces that both chefs have the potential to compete in an international cooking championship. He asks them to shake hands, and although there is tension between them, they comply. Later, Paul gives an interview confidently saying, "People in China are still living in ancient times. They don't understand modern cooking techniques. That's why I've returned, to teach them." Sky watches this interview from his restaurant. Every word feels like an insult, and anger begins to rise inside him. Paul's interview spreads everywhere. His bold statements about Sky make headlines, stirring tension between the two chefs. Meanwhile, reporters approach Mr. Ko and ask him about Sky, noting that they share the same surname and even resemble each other. The question irritates him deeply. With a cold expression, he says, "I don't have a son," and walks away, leaving the reporters stunned. One day, Paul's girlfriend Mayo arrives at Sky's restaurant with a polite smile and invites him to dinner at Paul's place. Sky hesitates for a moment, but eventually agrees. That evening, he arrives with his friend and steps into Paul's luxurious restaurant. Mayo presents two dishes, one made from eggs, decorated with delicate patterns, and another resembling a mysterious plant-like creation. When water is poured over it, the dish blooms and rises to the surface like a living organism. Sky tastes the egg dish first. The flavors are soft, rich, and perfectly balanced. Then Mayo leans closer and says, "You've never seen a dish like this, have you? This is Paul's award-winning creation." Her words echo inside Sky. He places the spoon down and quietly walks toward the kitchen, where Paul is waiting. Paul looks at him with a faint smirk, as if expecting him. "Do you want to prove you're better than me?" Paul asks casually. Sky doesn't reply. Instead, he steps forward and accepts the silent challenge. He takes ingredients and begins cooking using his traditional techniques, slow, detailed, heartfelt. But Paul moves faster, using modern tools and advanced methods. Within minutes, Paul finishes the same dish Sky is still preparing. He offers his version to Sky and says, "Taste it." Sky looks at the dish and instantly recognizes its brilliance. Without speaking, he leaves the restaurant. After he is gone, Paul secretly tastes Sky's dish and breaks into a satisfied smile. "He really is good," he murmurs. Across the street, Sky sits alone in his restaurant. His hands rest on the wooden table as the memory of his father's harsh voice returns. "You will never be a good chef." The words pierce him again. Somewhere else, Sky's father visits his old friend Hong, the man who raised Sky after he was abandoned. Hong is also a chef, a warm-hearted man who treated Sky like his own child. When Mr. Ko says he wants to meet Sky, Hong calls him immediately. Sky arrives and freezes in place when he sees his father. The years melt away, but the pain does not. Mr. Ko tries to speak, but Sky cuts him off. "I'm not your son," he says quietly. "Isn't that what you said in your interview?" Mr. Ko folds his arms, pride filling his voice. "Look at me. I am a successful man. I have received the world's best chef award twice. And you are just a cook in a small restaurant on an old street. If you want to stand beside me, prove yourself first." Sky's breath shakes with anger. "I will prove myself," he says. "But remember, success doesn't require cruelty. Being successful doesn't mean being arrogant. The small chef from that old alley will become the best in the world, but without arrogance." He walks away. Soon after, the grand cooking competition begins. Judges from around the world sit ready to evaluate the chefs. Sky's friends fill the audience, cheering loudly. The challenge begins. Sky steps forward first. He takes a whole chicken and demonstrates an ancient technique, separating the meat without removing the skin. The audience gasps, so even the judges lean forward, impressed by his precision. Sky then begins cooking, staying true to his traditional style. Paul, however, finishes early. Using modern techniques and machines, he creates a delicate sweet dish in record time and presents it beautifully. Sky takes every second of his allotted time. His dish carries depth, emotion, and history. When the judges taste both dishes, they are stunned. The flavors are equally magnificent. The scores come in equal points, but only one can win. A judge steps forward and says, "Cooking is an art, and art must respect time." Because Paul finished before the deadline, and Sky did not, Paul is declared the winner. Sky stands silently as applause fills the hall. His heart feels heavy, hollow. At home, Mr. Hong watches sadly. Sky disappears for several days. He abandons his restaurant and spends his time playing video games, lost in defeat. Then one day, Mr. Hong walks into his room, sits beside him, and grabs a game controller. They play. Sky wins. Mr. Hong smiles gently and says, "Winning and losing, they come and go. Losing doesn't mean you can't win again. Prepare yourself for the next fight. You still have a long way to go." Only then do we learn the truth. Mr. Hong is the real owner of Sky's restaurant. He gave Sky a home, a place to grow, and lifted him from the streets into a life of purpose. He loves Sky and his friends so much that he never married, dedicating his life to them. Meanwhile, Paul celebrates his victory with his team. Laughter fills the room as drinks are poured. But the celebration soon shifts when Paul's partner pulls him aside and says something shocking. In the next round of the competition, he explains, each team will have 2 chefs. Mayo will be the main chef. You will be her assistant. She's beautiful, and her presence will attract more attention to our restaurant. The words strike Paul deeply. "Mayo?" he whispers, looking at her with disbelief. "She is just his assistant," Paul insists. "She doesn't have the training, the discipline, or the technique to compete on an international stage." But before he can finish speaking, Mayo calmly places 2 bowls of soup in front of him. Her expression is cold, unreadable. "Taste them," she says quietly. "Tell me which one has more salt." Paul hesitates. He picks up a spoon, takes a sip, then freezes. His face drains of color. Mayo watches him with a sharp, knowing stare. "You can't tell, can you?" she says. "You're an excellent chef, Paul, but you have no sense of taste. Without the ability to taste food, you're nothing in this competition." She pulls his recipe book, his most precious possession, from her bag and flips through it slowly. "With this book," she continues, "anyone can cook the same dishes you make. You're replaceable. We don't need you anymore." Paul's partner steps forward, smirking. "And you don't have a girlfriend anymore either," he adds. "Because she loves me." Mayo looks at Paul without a hint of guilt. "Did you really think I stayed with you because of love? I've always wanted to be part of an international competition. And now, I finally have my chance." The betrayal hits Paul like a storm. His hands tremble. His heart pounds painfully. He walks out silently, unable to speak, unable to breathe. Tears blur his vision as he sits on the sidewalk outside, drinking numbly. Sky spots him on the street. He walks over and sits beside him. Are you coming to the competition? Sky asks. Or are you just planning to sit out here drinking? Paul breaks down completely. I I can't taste anything, he confesses. I've been cooking based on measurements and memory, but I can't actually taste my own food. He lifts his head and looks at a poster of Mr. Coe hanging nearby. That man, he's my inspiration, Paul says. One day, I wanted to become a master chef like him. Sky takes a deep breath. For the first time, he reveals his deepest truth. That man, he says quietly, is my father. Paul doesn't believe him at first, but when Sky explains everything, the abandonment, the pain, the years of silence, Paul feels the weight of the truth. He's selfish, Sky says. He built a legacy by abandoning a child. I want to beat him. I want to prove that a street chef can be greater than a so-called legend. Together, they pick up a glass bottle and throw it at the poster. It shatters on the ground, and they both laugh for the first time. Two broken men finding comfort in each other's pain, and from that moment, they become true friends. Later, Paul's former partners arrive at Sky's restaurant with someone unexpected, the same man Sky had thrown out earlier in the story. Together, they've bought the building and now own the entire restaurant. They tell Mr. Hong to vacate immediately because the place will soon be demolished and rebuilt. Everyone is furious. Sky and Paul arrive just in time. Paul steps toward his partner with a calm rage. In the next round, he says, my partner will be Sky, not Mayo. His partner sneers. If you don't do what we say, we'll ruin your career. Paul's fist connects with his partner's nose before he can finish the sentence. Blood spills. Everyone around cheers. The two chefs stand together, united at last. The next day, preparation begins. Sky and Paul cook side by side like true teammates. Sky teaches Paul ancient knife skills, how to feel the texture of food, how to trust his hands. Paul teaches Sky modern techniques, new tools, new presentations. Mr. Hong supports them both like a father. Soon, the international cooking competition begins. Famous chefs from all over the world gather, each representing a different country. As the first round starts, the arena fills with the smell of spices, sizzling oil, steaming broths. Mayo is there too, cooking with fierce determination. One by one, dishes are completed and tasted. When the results come out, Sky and Paul advance to the final round. The judges are amazed, calling their food extraordinary, something only a few chefs in the world can achieve. That night, the two sit together discussing strategy. But the rules say only one can advance to face Mr. Coe. Sky places his hand on Paul's shoulder. I trust you completely, he says. I know you can beat him. But Paul shakes his head. No, you should go. You need to face him. You should be the one to show him that a street chef can become the best. I've reached this far without taste. That alone is my victory. Paul's words give Sky strength. Sky finally agrees. The day arrives. Sky stands before his father in the final round. They can cook any dish they want within 1 hour. Mr. Coe begins immediately, confident and calm. Sky stands still for a moment, staring at his ingredients. Memories flood in, children mocking him after his father left, the loneliness, the hunger, the nights he cried himself to sleep, and the friends who always saved him. As he stands lost in thought, Mr. Coe splashes cold water onto Sky's face. Stop dreaming, he says. Start cooking. I want to see what you can really do. Sky takes a breath, steadies his hands, and then he begins to cook. Sky focuses completely on his dish, blocking out the noise, the crowd, even his father's presence. Every movement becomes steady, precise, almost spiritual. On the other side of the kitchen, Mr. Coe cooks with flawless mastery. His hands move with decades of experience, shaping a perfect sweet dish that shines like art on a plate. Within an hour, he finishes. The presentation is beautiful, refined, and the judges are eager to taste it. Sky finishes too, but instead of walking toward the judges' table, he turns toward his father. He is holding a simple bowl of noodles, the same noodles he had failed to make hundreds of times as a child. Back then, Mr. Coe's voice echoed through the small kitchen. If you can't even make basic noodles, you don't deserve to call me your father. Those words became the deepest wound in Sky's heart, and today he stands ready to heal it. With calm dignity, Sky places the bowl in front of Mr. Coe. He does not say a word. He simply bows slightly and begins to walk away. Mr. Coe lifts the chopsticks, takes a bite, and freezes. The noodles melt into flavor. Perfect texture, perfect seasoning, perfect soul. They carry the taste of childhood, of longing, of pain, of love that was never spoken. His eyes widen and his breath trembles. I've never eaten noodles like these, he whispers, voice shaking. Never. Sky turns and smiles softly. He did not come to win. He came to prove something. To himself, and to the father who abandoned him. That the street chef his father looked down on has become a world-level chef. That he is no longer the boy who was told he wasn't enough. Sky walks up the stage peacefully. Behind him, Mr. Ko continues eating the noodles, faster, messier, almost desperately. Each bite pulls out memories he had buried. A small boy waiting at the door, a child crying alone, a son cooking through heartbreak. Tears gather in Mr. Ko's eyes as he finally understands how much Sky must have suffered and how much he has grown. The audience watches silently. They understand now. Sky is Mr. Ko's son, and Mr. Ko has finally realized it too. Later, we see Sky at his restaurant again, returning to the life he loves. The small kitchen is alive with laughter, sizzling pans, clattering bowls. Sky and his friends serve food happily to the neighborhood, and now Paul works beside them, smiling, at peace, finally free of the people who betrayed him. Then Mr. Hong stands up in front of everyone. Today, he announces proudly, our restaurant has completed 30 years. Because of your trust and support, we survived everything. Our dream has always been the same, to serve good food at a price every family can afford. And the government has granted us permission to keep our restaurant open. Cheers fill the air. Mr. Hong continues, smiling warmly. We have officially purchased this place. This restaurant belongs to us now, and it will remain here forever, a gift to everyone who loves our food. Joy erupts throughout the room. Sky laughs with his friends, Paul claps in excitement, and the whole neighborhood celebrates the victory, not of a competition, but of community, love, and loyalty. And that is where the story ends. Let me talk to you from my heart. To everyone watching K-Drama Recap World right now, if you have a dream, never give up. Life will test you in ways you never expected. There will be nights when you feel tired, alone, and unsure of yourself. Moments when nothing seems to work, when your efforts feel invisible, when your dream feels too far away. But please remember this. Every strong person you admire today was once someone who wanted to quit. The only difference is they didn't. If you fall, stand up again. If you fail, learn and move forward. If nobody believes in you, believe in yourself. Your struggle is not weakness. It's proof that you are still fighting. So hold on to your dream. Protect.
The movie begins with a man driving slowly down a quiet street, his eyes constantly scanning his surroundings as if he's searching for someone or something. After a while, he begins tailing a black car, following it closely until it turns into a dark, deserted alley. Suddenly, the white car behind it accelerates and slams into the black vehicle. The driver of the black car steps out, pulls out his phone, and starts recording the damage, carefully documenting the scene and the car that hit him to show the insurance company. The driver of the white car gets out as well, speaking calmly and acting cooperative. But while the victim is distracted, busy filming the damage, the man suddenly pulls out a knife and stabs him. He forces the wounded man into his own car and continues stabbing him mercilessly until he is completely dead. Then he calmly drives away in his white car. The next morning, 2 police officers head toward the crime scene. One of them, Detective Kim, looks exhausted and fed up with the monotony of routine police work. When traffic brings their car to a stop, Kim notices a group of gang members gathered on the side of the road. He gets out and walks toward them, attempting to enter their establishment. The gang members try to stop him, and when he refuses to listen, one of them even offers him a bribe. That's when Kim loses his temper. He beats them and forces his way inside. At that same moment, a powerful gang leader named Jang is finishing his morning workout, practicing boxing. His right-hand man rushes in to inform him that a police officer has stormed their casino. Jang immediately stops punching the heavy bag, removes his gloves, and orders his men to return to their positions. He then gathers his crew and heads out to meet another gang leader. On the way, Jang calls the police chief and informs him that one of his officers is causing trouble and snooping around. He demands that the situation be handled. It becomes clear that the police chief is secretly working for Jang. Meanwhile, Detective Kim arrives at the murder scene. The forensic team is collecting samples and examining the body. The lead investigator notes that the victim's wallet is missing, suggesting it may have been a robbery. But Kim isn't convinced. The killing was far too brutal. A simple thief would only want the money, not to slaughter someone in such a savage way. While inspecting the scene, Kim finds traces of white paint at the rear of the victim's car. He suspects a white vehicle rammed into it. He shows this to the investigator, but she dismisses it as possibly old damage. Elsewhere, Jang meets with another gang leader named Sang to discuss business. Jang struggles to remain calm despite Sang's irritating eating habits and disrespectful attitude. He tries to negotiate peacefully, but Sang grows greedy and demands a larger share of the profits. Jang's right-hand man objects to Sang's behavior, and Sang's assistant snaps back angrily for speaking disrespectfully to his boss. Tension rises. Jang suddenly takes control of the situation. He calls his right-hand man forward and strikes him. Then he calls Sang's assistant, who obediently steps forward and braces himself for punishment. Deciding to teach them both a lesson, Jang grabs the assistant by the front teeth and brutally pulls them out with his bare hands. He drops the bloody teeth into Sang's drink and coldly tells him to drink it. Terrified, Sang obeys. Later, during a police meeting, Detective Kim presents his findings. He explains that the last 3 murders were committed using a knife, and based on forensic images, the stab wounds appear to have been inflicted by the same weapon. He believes they are dealing with a serial killer randomly targeting victims. The police chief becomes furious. Kim was not assigned to this case, and he accuses him of always interfering in matters outside his jurisdiction, just like when he stormed the casino earlier. He warns him that if he continues to meddle in gang affairs without permission, it won't end well for him. Meanwhile, Jang finishes his meeting and tells his right-hand man that he wants to be alone for a while. He orders his men to leave, deciding to drive himself home. On his way back, he's talking on the phone when suddenly his car is hit from behind. Because of the heavy rain and darkness, he can't see clearly. He steps out of the vehicle and comes face to face with the same serial killer. The killer apologizes, claiming he couldn't see properly because of the rain. Jang calmly tells him it's fine and that he can leave. The killer seems surprised. Most people would be distracted by inspecting the damage. But the moment Jang turns his back to return to his car, the killer attacks, stabbing him multiple times. This time, however, things don't go as planned. Unlike his previous victims, who tried to run or beg for mercy, Jang shocks him by fighting back. Because Jang is physically stronger, he overpowers the attacker at first, slamming him to the ground and beating him mercilessly. But the stab wounds and heavy bleeding begin to drain his strength. Seeing his chance, the killer lunges forward to stab him again. Jang grabs the blade with his bare hand, wrests it away, and this time drives it straight into the killer's chest. The killer, stunned by a resistance he never expected, panics. He breaks free, runs to his car, and speeds off. Jang stands in the middle of the road, barely conscious and covered in blood. In a final act of cruelty, the killer swerves and hits him with the car, leaving him broken on the asphalt before fleeing into the night. Jang is rushed to the hospital. At the same time, his men immediately assume that Sang, the rival boss he had met earlier, must be behind the attack. Without waiting for confirmation, Jang's right-hand man storms Sang's warehouse and brutally assaults his men. Meanwhile, the killer hides in a remote area inside his car, trying to disinfect and stitch up his wounds. Frustrated that he didn't get the twisted satisfaction he usually feels from murder, he sets out on foot until he stumbles upon a dog farm. When the dogs start barking, the farm owner comes out to investigate, only to become the killer's next victim. Later, Jang regains consciousness in the hospital and learns that his right-hand man attacked Sang, but Jang is certain Sang had nothing to do with it. He insists it was the first time he had ever seen his attacker, and that the man's method with the knife was different from anything he'd encountered before. He carefully writes down the description and license plate of the white car so his men can track it down. Soon after, Detective Kim enters the hospital room, trying to take Jang's statement to identify the attacker. But Jang refuses to cooperate. He wants to find the man himself, to restore his pride and reclaim his reputation. Realizing Yang won't help, Kim begins investigating on his own. Knowing Yang was stabbed on the road while driving, Kim heads straight to the garage. There he finds Yang's car, and just as he suspected, it's clearly been hit from behind by a white vehicle. This confirms his theory. It's the same person responsible for the previous murder. Not long after, Sang visits Jang in the hospital. He reveals that many of his men were injured in the attack carried out by Jang's crew. Jang takes responsibility and offers to compensate for the damages. But Sang isn't satisfied. He demands half the city Jang controls. Mocking him, Sang sneers, "What kind of gang leader gets beaten and stabbed in the middle of the street?" He even suggests Jang should kill himself after such humiliation. At the police station, Kim tries to convince his superior to assign him the case. He argues that the murders were committed by the same killer and that Jang, being the only survivor who saw him, is their only chance to identify the suspect. But the police chief dismisses the idea, insisting Jang would never cooperate and throws Kim out of his office. Meanwhile, the killer continues his spree. He arrives at a gas station and sees a truck driver talking to his wife on the phone. Without hesitation, he murders him and steals the truck. But as he drives off, he discovers someone else was sleeping in the back. When he tries to kill the second man during a struggle, his knife falls out of the truck. Back at Zhang's headquarters, he hires a professional sketch artist and provides a detailed description of the attacker. When the portrait is complete and strikingly accurate, Zhang hands it to his right-hand man and orders him to find the killer before the police do. Shortly after, Detective Kim leads a raid on Zhang's casino. Kim confronts Zhang and reveals that they inspected his gambling machines and discovered they were rigged to cheat customers. He gives Zhang an ultimatum: cooperate in catching the killer or face arrest for fraud. Kim explains that this isn't an ordinary murderer. It's a serial killer. If they don't stop him now, more innocent people will die. But Zhang is driven by something else. He wants to catch the killer himself, to restore his honor and make an example out of him. Later, Zhang meets with his right-hand man, who reports that they've located the killer's white car. They also heard about a murder committed near where the car was found. When they searched the area, they discovered the killer's knife. As the situation unfolds, it becomes clear that Zhang's empire is beginning to crumble. His reputation has been shattered among rival gangs, and Sang's organization is already moving in, taking control of Zhang's territory while he struggles to recover. As rumors spread across the underworld that Zhang has grown weak, he realizes his reputation is collapsing. Determined to restore his name as quickly as possible, he makes a bold decision. He will cooperate with Detective Kim. They meet in secret. Zhang tells Kim that his men have located the killer's car, though he deliberately keeps the discovery of the knife to himself. He offers a deal. His men will work under Kim's command, and he will cover their salaries and expenses. In return, any information either side uncovers must be shared, and whoever captures the killer first will deal with him in their own way. Kim cautiously agrees to cooperate, but as he begins speaking freely, he realizes Zhang has been secretly recording the conversation. Every time Kim hints at something sensitive, Zhang already seems to have it documented elsewhere. Furious but cornered, Kim understands he has no real choice but to continue working with him. Later, Kim meets with two trusted colleagues and decides they will operate in complete secrecy, keeping the police chief in the dark. He refuses to do all the hard work only to hand over the evidence for someone else to solve the case and take the credit. At the same time, Zhang sits with his right-hand man and admits that a sketch and a damaged car won't be enough to identify the killer. They need stronger evidence, fingerprints, DNA, things only the police can legally obtain. That is where Kim becomes useful. Soon after, a police forensic team examines the killer's abandoned car, which has been hidden inside one of Zhang's illegal gambling warehouses. Kim makes it clear they will temporarily overlook the illegal location until the serial killer is caught. But Zhang knows catching the killer will take time, and his criminal empire cannot afford more instability. Sang has already crossed the line, so Zhang makes a ruthless move. One of Sang's closest men is murdered in his sleep. Zhang uses the serial killer's own knife and leaves it at the crime scene, ensuring the police will assume the serial killer committed the murder. The next morning, the female investigator is out jogging when Kim approaches her. He discreetly hands her the forensic samples collected from the killer's car, along with money, asking her to process everything quietly and report only to him. Later, she arrives at Sang's murder scene and finds the knife still there. While Kim is attending a police meeting, she calls him with shocking news. The DNA found on the knife matches samples from all the recent serial murder victims. She also informs him that Sang has been killed, and the same knife carrying the serial killer's DNA was used. Kim immediately realizes what happened. Zhang must have killed Sang. Without hesitation, he confronts Zhang. A heated argument erupts, but Zhang remains calm and physically dominant. When Kim directly asks if he killed Sang, Zhang openly admits it. He insists that it changes nothing about their agreement. They will continue working together until the serial killer is captured. Soon, news breaks across the city. A serial killer is on the loose. The media frenzy erupts after forensic evidence links Sang's murder weapon to the previous killings. Meanwhile, the real killer watches the news quietly. Seeing himself blamed for Sung's murder, he decides to investigate. He attends Sung's funeral and spots Jang among the mourners. The killer approaches Sang's right-hand man, stares directly at Jang, and hands over a note stating that someone used his knife to kill Sang. But Sang's lieutenant doesn't need the note. He already suspects Jang. After leaving the funeral, the killer resumes his spree, murdering another man in the same brutal fashion and stealing his car. Later, Jang receives a call from Kim. They agree to meet at the location of the killer's car to search for more evidence. While examining the vehicle together, Kim mocks him slightly. Not every gang leader survives being stabbed in the street. Jang replies coldly that anyone else would have died like the other victims, but he managed to seize the knife and stab the attacker back before the killer fled. That gives Kim an idea. If Jang stabbed him, there must be the killer's blood inside the car. They search carefully and finally discover dried bloodstains on the steering wheel. Before they can leave, loud shouting erupts nearby. A rival gang storms in. It's Sang's men, led by his furious right-hand man, seeking revenge. Outnumbered, Jang fights fiercely despite his injuries. Kim, however, is overwhelmed and beaten to the ground. One attacker continues pounding him until Jang intervenes and saves him. Then Sang's lieutenant attempts to kill Jang, ordering his men to hold him down, but Kim jumps back into the fight. During the violent struggle, he accidentally stabs the lieutenant. He freezes in shock. He never intended to kill him. Jang immediately takes control, telling Kim to leave before the police arrive. Jang later buries the body in front of his own men as a warning, a brutal reminder of loyalty and consequences. Elsewhere, the serial killer drives the car of his latest victim. The dead man's phone rings. It's his wife, angrily asking why he's so late. The next day at the police station, the chief assigns Kim to a kidnapping case, ordering him to arrest the suspect. Kim explodes in frustration. The serial killer should be the priority. He reminds them that from the beginning he warned them it was a serial murderer, but no one believed him. The police chief tells Kim that another investigative team has now been assigned to the serial murder case. It is no longer their jurisdiction. Instead, he orders Kim to focus on a kidnapping case. Reluctantly, Kim meets with his colleagues and explains the situation. The victim is a wealthy Ghanaian businessman. Whoever abducted him will almost certainly demand ransom money. As expected, they begin monitoring the wife's phone calls. Soon, the kidnapper contacts her and instructs her to bring the money to a restaurant. She goes to the restaurant, believing she will meet the kidnapper there. Kim and his partner hide nearby, waiting to arrest him the moment he appears. But to their surprise, it is the restaurant owner, a harmless woman, who collects the bag of money instead. Kim spots the kidnapper watching from another rooftop. The man realizes he's been seen and bolts. Kim and his partner chase him through the streets, but he is incredibly fast and disappears. They return to question the restaurant owner. She turns out to be innocent and unaware of the seriousness of what she was involved in. However, she remembers one detail. The kidnapper had been drinking a specific brand of soda with his meal. Unfortunately, that was hours ago. Kim and the forensic team rush to the storage area, searching through countless empty bottles to find the right one. After hours of digging through piles of glass, Kim begins losing hope. But the female investigator encourages him. She's used to this kind of tedious work. She also informs him that her team has found fingerprints on the steering wheel cover from the serial killer's car and is currently trying to identify the owner. After an exhausting day, Kim returns to the station, drained and discouraged. Fatigue and frustration begin to overwhelm him. Suddenly, the investigator arrives with exciting news. They were lucky. She managed to retrieve fingerprints from one of the soda bottles, and one of those prints matches the ones found on the steering wheel cover. That means the kidnapper and the serial killer are the same person. She hands Kim a file containing the suspect's identity and address. When Kim visits the residence, the landlady tells him the man hasn't been home for some time. Inside the apartment, the air smells foul and stale. Kim searches the place until he finds a photograph of the suspect. It closely matches the sketch Jang had commissioned. Immediately, Kim asks his colleague to send him the recording of the ransom call made to the kidnapped man's wife. Then he contacts Jang and plays the kidnapper's voice. The moment Jang hears it, he recognizes it instantly. A dark satisfaction crosses his face. At last, the man who destroyed his reputation is within reach. Kim and Jang arrange a secret meeting with Jang's men. One of the officers reports that they checked the call records of the killer's mother and discovered a suspicious number that frequently contacted her. They managed to trace its location. Jang gathers a large number of his men and gives clear instructions on what to do once they find the killer. He distributes copies of the suspect's photograph to everyone. They drive to the area where the suspicious calls were traced. The men spread out through the streets, questioning shop owners and passers-by. The search drags on for days without results. One rainy day, Jang waits for Kim so they can continue the search together. While standing in the downpour, Jang notices a young female student shivering in the rain, her clothes soaked. He offers her his umbrella. At first, she refuses, but he insists gently, telling her the most important thing is to focus on her studies and succeed. When Kim arrives, he finds Jang standing in the rain and realizes he gave away his umbrella. Kim scolds the girl, warning her not to accept things from strangers, especially from a man like Jang, a gang leader. But because Kim is shouting while Jang had shown kindness, the girl retorts playfully that Jang seems nicer, and maybe Kim is the real gangster. The moment passes humorously. She boards her bus and leaves. Later, Jang and Kim meet with Jang's men for dinner before continuing their search. While talking, Jang suddenly notices something on the news playing in the background: another murder. The serial killer has struck again, and the crime scene is very close to where they are. But the real shock comes when Jang sees something familiar in the footage: his umbrella, the same one he gave to the young girl. Rage consumes him. They race at full speed to the bus station where the girl had gotten off. They search frantically, questioning everyone nearby and showing the killer's photo. Eventually, they trace him to a hotel. The hotel owner provides the room number. When they enter the room, it's empty. They spread out, hiding inside and around the building, waiting for him to return. After some time, the killer arrives in a car, but he moves cautiously, constantly scanning his surroundings. From outside, he notices someone watching from a window. Instantly, he senses danger and flees. At that moment, the fragile alliance between Jang and Kim begins to fracture. Now it becomes a race. Whoever catches the killer first will claim him. Kim rams Jang's car in an attempt to get ahead. Furious, Jang accelerates recklessly, crashing into both vehicles as they speed through the streets. He jumps out and searches for the killer, but he's already vanished. Then Jang's right-hand man spots the killer running. They split up to corner him, but the killer uses their separation to his advantage. He ambushes the right-hand man and stabs him repeatedly. Jang hears his right-hand man's screams and rushes toward the sound. The wounded man points in the direction the killer fled. Jang follows the trail until he notices blood leading into a karaoke club. He searches every room carefully. In one of them, he sees two young women singing through tears. Their fear tells him everything. Someone is threatening them. In a back room, the serial killer is murdering their friend. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Jang storms in and smashes a heavy object into the killer's face. They struggle violently before Jang overpowers him. Dragging the battered killer outside, Jang forces him into a car and takes him to one of his private warehouses. He calls Kim and tells him calmly, "I caught him. He's mine now." When Kim arrives, he finds the killer tied to a chair. Jang prepares for what he calls the party. The killer smirks and asks, "Don't you want to know why I killed them?" Jang replies coldly, "I only want to know one thing. Do you like grilled meat? Because someone's about to be cut up and roasted over charcoal." He is moments away from killing him when he hears an engine roar nearby. Suddenly, Kim crashes a car into Jang, knocking him aside. Kim grabs the killer, places him in the vehicle, and drives off, after saluting Jang with a brief, defiant glance. Kim takes the killer to the police station and hands him over. The interrogation begins. News spreads quickly. The serial killer has been captured, but the situation is far from secure. So far, there is no solid evidence that can conclusively convict him. Meanwhile, Jang watches the news in disbelief as police raid all of his casinos. His men are arrested. Investigators confirm the gambling machines were rigged to cheat customers. A warrant is issued for Jang's arrest on fraud charges. During interrogation, Kim tries to break the killer, pushing him to confess, but the killer toys with him, provoking him deliberately. Eventually, Kim loses control and lunges at him. At that moment, the police chief realizes he made a serious mistake trusting Kim. The trial begins, more accurately, what looks like it could become the killer's acquittal. The prosecution presents the knife, claiming it belongs to the killer. The defense attorney immediately counters that there is no proof linking the weapon to his client. They accuse the police of attempting to smear an innocent man's reputation. There is still no concrete evidence tying him to the murders. Desperate, the prosecution calls their final witness, the only surviving victim, Zhang. It is revealed that after Zhang nearly killed the killer in the warehouse, Kim risked his life to persuade him. Kim tells Zhang that the only true way to take revenge is to testify in court and ensure the killer is legally executed. Zhang takes the stand. He states clearly that he saw the killer with his own eyes and that he was stabbed by him, but the defense attorney attacks Zhang's credibility, reminding the court that he is a gang leader. He argues that violence and stabbings are common in gang life and that being stabbed does not prove his client was responsible. Calmly, Zhang removes his jacket and shirt. He describes in chilling detail what happened that night. He shows the judge the scars covering his body. Then he explains something crucial. From experience, people who frequently use knives to kill often have scars and damaged fingernails from repeated use. He also reveals that during their fight, he stabbed the killer in the left shoulder. The court orders the killer to remove his shirt. On his left shoulder, the exact scar Yang described. The courtroom falls silent. Zhang is arrested immediately on his outstanding fraud charges, but the serial killer is found guilty and sentenced to death. The final part of the secret agreement between Kim and Zhang is then revealed. Zhang had agreed to testify on one condition, that he and his men be imprisoned in the same facility as the killer. Zhang is taken to prison. His men welcome him with deep respect. Because the film is based on a true story, what follows is something rarely seen in history. The victim smiles with a calm, deadly certainty, while the serial killer's face is filled with fear and dread. Later, in the prison bathroom, the water suddenly shuts off. The killer looks up and finds Zhang standing beside him, holding a rope. Zhang asks quietly, "Have you ever ridden a swing before?" The film ends with no need for further explanation. We are left certain that the killer finally drank from the same cup and received his punishment. If you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like the video, and if you want to see more
The movie begins with a man named Chris Johnson sitting alone in a diner. He checks his watch, looks at the exact time, and suddenly turns toward the entrance as if expecting someone to walk in. Nothing happens, so he calmly gets up and leaves. Chris lives in Las Vegas, where he earns a living performing in a small magic show under the stage name Frank Cadillac. He steps on stage and starts performing prediction tricks, but the audience isn't very impressed. To prove himself, he invites a young woman from the crowd. Chris predicts the exact second her necklace will fall into her drink, and just as he says it will, it happens. The audience applauds, assuming it's just a clever illusion. Unknown to Chris, however, 2 FBI agents are watching him closely from the audience. Chris has a unique ability. He can see into his own future, but only up to 2 minutes ahead. Since the magic show barely pays the bills, he spends his free time gambling in casinos. However, he only places small bets and wins modest amounts, carefully avoiding jackpots so he doesn't draw attention. Even so, the casino has been monitoring him. On this particular day, the security team, led by Roybal and his partner Davis, keeps a close watch on Chris through the CCTV system, trying to figure out if he's cheating.
Oh, he's not counting, not off the top of a 5-deck shoe.
Isn't it that 2-bit magic act over at the back page? What's his name?
Yeah, it's Frank Cadillac. Is he pulling tricks on us? Is that legal?
You can't trick the deck. I'm telling you, that little prick knows what's coming.
If he's running that good a system, why is he not betting more?
That's gonna be my second question.
Look at that, he's looking right at us. It's like he can hear us.
What table was that?
Alarmed, Roybal orders his team to move in and bring Chris in. Chris already sees this coming. He leaves the table and heads to the cashier to cash out his chips. While standing there, he looks 2 minutes into the future and sees a man pull out a gun, rob the cashier, kill 2 people, and escape with the money. As soon as the vision ends, the man approaches. But before he can draw his weapon, Chris lunges at him and disarms him. When casino security arrives with guns raised, they completely misunderstand the situation and assume Chris is the criminal since he's holding the gun.
It's his gun. He was gonna shoot 2 people.
Realizing he can't talk his way out of this, Chris takes off. All casino security is immediately deployed to capture him. Using his ability to see their moves in advance, Chris skillfully evades them, even as Davis feeds his exact location to the guards through the surveillance system. head at all times. At one point, Chris ducks into a restroom, quickly changes his outfit, and walks back out in disguise. By the time Davis alerts the team, Chris is already heading for the exit. He escapes the building, steals a car, and speeds away. Roybal contacts the Las Vegas police, and a high-speed chase breaks out through the city streets. As Chris approaches a train crossing, he sees a future where he slows down and gets hit by an oncoming train. Acting on this knowledge, he floors the gas pedal and crosses the tracks just seconds before impact. The police are forced to stop, and Chris successfully escapes. Meanwhile, FBI agent Callie Ferris shows the casino footage to her boss.
He rose to the top of our gambling fraud wish list about 2 months ago. Now, what he does has nothing to do with luck. It's definable ability. Look at him. He knows exactly what to do to not be caught.
She's been tracking Chris for some time and believes he has a genuine supernatural ability. Her boss dismisses her theory, reminding her that European terrorists have stolen a nuclear weapon from Russia and plan to detonate it somewhere in Los Angeles. Every available agent is needed for that mission. Callie insists that if they can find Chris, his ability could help locate the nuclear device. Reluctantly, her boss agrees and gives her 5 days to prove it. Callie immediately orders her assistant Kavanaugh to bring in Roybal. Kavanaugh arrives at the casino, flashes his badge, and escorts Roybal to the FBI's mobile command center. There, Callie questions him about Chris. Roybal explains they were monitoring Chris for possible cheating. Callie shows him a photo of Chris looking directly into the camera and asks what they were discussing at that exact moment. Roybal admits he was just about to call in Chris's arrest when Chris suddenly looked up. Callie pieces it together.
So he doesn't have to be there to do it. Once you enter his consciousness, he can pick it up.
After thanking Roybal, Callie dismisses him. Outside, Kavanaugh warns Roybal never to speak about Chris's identity.
Miss Johnson never existed.
That's gonna be difficult considering 100 cameras some at the casino.
Not to worry, his tapes have been destroyed.
Hey, she's single?
Back inside, Callie and her team analyze the remaining data and confirm that Chris can see between 1.5 and 2 minutes into the future.
At one point, there was a 2-minute, 16-second delay. He never bet, just got up and walked away.
Maybe 2/16's too long. He can't see that far.
Just then, Kavanaugh returns with news. The police have tracked the location of the stolen car. Meanwhile, Chris drives straight to the home of his old friend Irv while still being hunted. When Irv sees the car, he asks where it came from, and Chris casually admits that he stole it. Irv scolds him for stealing cars and constantly being on the run, telling him that kind of life will only end badly. He also advises Chris to forget about the woman he keeps seeing in his visions, the very reason Chris has been visiting the diner every day to meet her. In his vision, he doesn't know the exact day she will appear in the diner. He only knows she will come there at 8:09 because he saw a clock in his vision, and he doesn't even know which time of day that is. So he comes to the diner twice a day.
Listen, about that girl, when you looked at the clock, did you happen to see a calendar? Because it could be 10 years from now she gets hungry.
Chris explains that this woman is special. With her, he can see beyond the usual 2-minute limit of his visions. To him, that means she could be his true love. Irv urges him not to take risks over something that may never happen. Suddenly, Chris freezes. He tells Irv that a woman is on her way, an undercover cop. Irv immediately tells him to run.
Cop? Well, then you gotta go.
But Chris decides to stay.
Hold on, I want to see how much she knows, what she wants from me.
Moments later, Callie walks in and asks to speak with Chris alone. Callie hints at his ability to see the future, but Chris pretends he has no idea what she's talking about, joking that she must mean his magic act, and even mentioning that he saw her at the show. Callie ignores the act and gets straight to the point. She tells him a nuclear device has been stolen and is being smuggled into the United States to be detonated. She wants him to use his ability to help find it, appealing to his sense of responsibility. Chris refuses. He makes it clear he wants nothing to do with the government, believing they'll only use him and lock him away. Callie then changes tactics, reminding him that they have footage of him holding a gun in the casino and evidence of the stolen car.
That was an accident. He had a gun. He was going to shoot 2 people.
Yeah. How'd you know that? No good deed goes unpunished, does it? I can fix your legal problems, buddy, but you've got to step up. Otherwise, your next magic show is going to be at Folsom State Prison.
It's ironic, but people like you who try to help have been torturing me, in the full sense of the word, since I was 3 years old. What do they call it? Observed play therapy. Featuring the marathon 36-hour Can You Guess the Next flashcard game. So please, leave me alone and let me live some semblance of a normal life.
Chris remains firm and refuses again. Suddenly, armed FBI agents storm the room and surround the building. Then time rewinds. It turns out Chris had only seen this outcome in advance.
You're right, I gotta go.
Using that knowledge, he quickly escapes through the back door. Moments later, Callie enters the room to find only Irv playing pool. She realizes she missed Chris by just seconds.
I missed him by seconds, didn't I?
Elsewhere, Roybal is heading to his car in a parking lot when he's approached by a man and a woman claiming to be Gaming Commission employees. They ask what he knows about Chris Johnson.
What can you tell us about Chris Johnson?
Roybal initially stays silent, then claims he doesn't know anyone by that name. The woman shoots him in the knee. As he collapses in pain, the man pulls out a knife and demands answers. The next day, Chris is once again sitting in the same roadside diner, sipping a drink and staring at his watch. This time, at the exact moment he's been waiting for, the woman from his visions finally walks in. Her name is Liz. She passes a stunned Chris and sits at a nearby table. Chris begins running through multiple future scenarios to find the one where he successfully approaches her.
Excuse me, do you have a light?
I don't smoke.
Sorry to bother you. I have a question about the coffee. The bean they use.
Isn't that something you should probably ask your waitress? Please.
None of his attempts work. Liz's ex-boyfriend Kendall shows up and confronts her about avoiding him. He becomes aggressive, grabbing her hand and refusing to let go even when she says he's hurting her. Chris steps in and tells him to back off. Kendall reacts angrily and throws a punch, but Chris effortlessly dodges it. Kendall keeps swinging, yet Chris avoids every blow and even knocks him down without trying, all while calmly talking to Liz. He pins Kendall down, forces him to pay for Liz's breakfast, and performs a quick coin trick. Still, Liz isn't impressed and walks away.
You know what? You two work things out.
That future doesn't work either. Time resets again. This time, Chris lets Kendall punch him, even though he sees it coming. Liz immediately yells at Kendall and tells him to leave. She stays behind to help Chris. As they talk, Chris tells her his car was stolen and that he's trying to get to Flagstaff. Liz reveals she's heading there too, where she teaches at a local school. Feeling sympathetic, she offers him a ride, though she jokes that he doesn't seem like a psycho. Soon, they're on the road together. During the drive, Chris suggests that meeting at the diner and heading in the same direction must be destiny. Liz disagrees, saying she doesn't believe in destiny, and that life is better when it's unpredictable. Meanwhile, Callie and Kavanaugh track Chris to the diner and question the owners. They learn that Chris has been coming there daily, and always leaving at exactly 8:09, except for that day. The owners mention he met a woman, and that they overheard the two of them talking about going to Flagstaff. After leaving, Callie orders Kavanaugh to pull traffic camera footage from the area to track Chris's route. Then Kavanaugh drops shocking news. Roybal has been found dead in a parking lot, with his throat cut and his kneecap shattered by a gunshot.
You're telling me this now? We just talked to him about Johnson.
Hey, I just found out.
She quickly realizes the terrorists must be responsible, and that they're trying to eliminate Chris before he can interfere with their plan. Chris and Liz arrive at an Indian settlement near the Grand Canyon, where a local tribe lives and where Liz works part-time as a teacher. As they head toward the main village, Chris mentions that he'd like to meet the tribe's shaman. Liz then pulls out a small gift, explaining that it's for one of her students' birthdays. As soon as the children see her, they rush toward her and hug her excitedly. Later, she sits with them, and they teach her words from their native language. One of the kids innocently asks if Chris is her boyfriend, pointing out that he keeps staring at her. Liz looks up and notices Chris watching her with admiration. Chris walks over and performs a magic trick for the birthday boy, delighting the children and impressing Liz as well. After leaving the settlement, Liz asks where he learned to do magic. Chris explains that he performs in Las Vegas under the stage name Frank Cadillac, a name inspired by two things he loves, Frankenstein and Cadillacs. They continue their journey, but heavy rain begins to fall. Liz dozes off and ends up sleeping on Chris's shoulder as he drives. When she wakes up, she apologizes and comments on how hard it's raining. Shortly after, they reach a blocked section of the road, where construction workers explain that flooding has washed the road away.
We'll spin around and go back about 2 miles, take your second left. There'll be a motel there called
Cliffhanger, thanks.
With no way forward, Chris and Liz head to a nearby motel for the night. Meanwhile, at the FBI office, Callie is practicing at the shooting range when Kavanaugh approaches her with new information. After reviewing traffic camera footage, they've gotten a positive identification of Chris. Using the magic cinematic zoom and enhance feature, they notice the car's permit number and request that Liz's car be tracked.
There. Zoom in. That's a permit. Track it and find her.
Isolate vector A6. Rotate. Zoom in. Remove occupant. Frisk. Enhance pants vector D7. Isolate pocket contents. Enhance. 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 Meet me at the strip club tonight. It all goes down. XOXOVB.
Back at the motel, Chris helps Liz settle into a room and lights the fireplace to keep her warm. Liz points out that there's only one bed. Chris reassures her and says he'll sleep in the car instead. Liz gives him a blanket and they say goodnight. Later that night, Liz looks out the window and sees Chris sleeping in the car, which makes her feel guilty. The next morning at a port, the terrorists unload shipping containers. Inside one of them is the stolen nuclear device. They assemble its components and test its activation. The same men who killed Roybal report to their leader.
The head of casino security. What did you learn from him?
For a macho guy, he screams like a girl.
He was questioned by federal agents looking for Chris Johnson, yes?
You said they haven't found him yet.
Do you believe this shit? You can see things before they happen.
It makes no difference what I believe.
We're wasting our time looking for some magician.
Look, we spent 2 years setting this up, and that man out there is worried all this will be compromised by Johnson. Why are the same authorities that are looking for us so interested in him? Get rid of him. Do it now.
Meanwhile, at FBI headquarters, Kavanaugh informs Callie that they've tracked Chris and Liz to a motel in Flagstaff.
Found an Arizona DOT foreman who remembered the Land Cruiser.
Why would he do that?
Well, the road was flooded. He was about to suggest a place to stay.
Johnson already knew, right?
Exactly.
Before they can act, Callie is summoned to an emergency briefing. During the meeting, Director Wisdom announces that a nuclear alert of the highest level has just been issued. He scolds his team for the lack of progress, reminding them that the situation is critical and the bomb could detonate at any moment. Callie steps in and demands full resources and a capture team to arrest Chris Johnson, insisting that Chris is the key to finding the bomb before it explodes in Los Angeles. The director agrees, and the FBI mobilizes all available forces. Unbeknownst to the FBI, the terrorists are closely monitoring their movements. They have already placed a spy in an apartment with a clear view of Callie's office after killing the original occupant. Their leader, Smith, orders his men to follow Callie's team, believing it will lead them directly to Chris.
They lead us straight to Johnson.
Back at the motel, Liz steps out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel. Chris can't help but stare. He charms her by quoting the words of an Italian painter to describe her beauty, then finishes by performing a magic trick, turning a piece of paper into a rose. He hands it to her, and the two share a kiss. Callie arrives in Flagstaff by helicopter. Her team briefs her on their surveillance setup and confirms they have a clear view of the motel. She orders them to coordinate with local police to lock down the area. Afterward, she tells her team that a body was recently discovered in an apartment overlooking her office.
Body turned up in an apartment with a line of sight to my office. Slit throat like Roybal.
Somebody's trying to follow us to Johnson.
Back at the motel, Chris and Liz spend some quiet time together. As they lie on the bed, Liz softly admits that maybe she does believe in destiny after all. Outside, Callie and Kavanaugh monitor the motel from a distance using binoculars. They spot Liz stepping outside and decide to intercept her. Callie insists they wait at least 2 minutes so Chris won't see it coming. Once the time passes, they approach Liz, and Callie flashes her badge, ordering her into the car. Inside the vehicle, they show Liz casino surveillance footage of Chris holding a gun. Callie paints him as a dangerous criminal and a sociopath who is only using Liz to stay ahead of the authorities. Liz is shaken and struggles to believe what she's hearing. Kavanaugh then asks her to help them capture Chris. He hands her a bottle of pills and tells her to drop one into Chris's drink. The pill will knock him out, allowing them to arrest him safely, but she must wait 2 minutes after Chris leaves the room before doing it. Under pressure, Liz finally agrees and takes the pill. Nearby, the terrorists quietly observe everything and report back to their leader as events unfold.
Now they're letting her go.
Liz returns to the motel room and greets Chris, acting as if nothing is wrong. She gives him some clothes she bought for him, and he thanks her before kissing her. After the kiss, Chris senses something is off and asks if she's okay. Liz denies it and suggests he take a shower while she prepares breakfast. As Chris showers, Liz keeps checking her watch, waiting for the exact moment to add the pill to his drink. At the same time, Callie stares at her own watch inside the surveillance van, preparing to move in. Not far from the motel, the terrorist leader and his men are positioned nearby, with a sniper locked onto the building. When the 2 minutes pass, Liz drops the pill into Chris's drink. As he comes out of the bathroom, she hands it to him. But just before he takes a sip, Liz breaks down and stops him. She hugs Chris and quietly tells him everything Callie and her assistant said about him. She asks if it's true. Chris doesn't answer right away. Instead, he turns on the TV and cranks up the volume, blocking the FBI from listening in. He calmly asks Liz how long the pill is supposed to take to work. After she answers, Chris switches the glasses and goes outside to drink it. From the surveillance van, Callie watches, confused by his behavior. The sniper also sees him, but can't get a clear shot. Chris comes back inside and tells Liz that everything the FBI said about him is a lie.
The man in that casino would have killed 2 people. It happened. It just hadn't happened yet.
Oh my God, you are delusional.
To prove it, Chris begins predicting every line spoken on TV before it's said, switching channels repeatedly and getting it right every time.
That's right, sir. You're the only person authorized to do so.
That's right, sir. You are the only person authorized to do so.
You can't get lost in the woods if you never go into the woods.
can't get lost in the woods if you never go into the woods.
Stunned, Liz asks how he's doing it. Chris explains that he was born with the ability to see the future, but only up to 2 minutes ahead, and only when events are directly connected to him. He then reveals something even more shocking. For some reason, when it comes to Liz, he can see much further into the future.
For some reason, I saw you far beyond anything I'd ever seen before, and I don't know why.
What do you mean, you saw me? You've been doing that to me? That you know what I'm gonna do and what I'm gonna say? That you've just been setting me up?
No, I haven't.
Chris denies it, explaining that he's been searching for her because he doesn't understand why she's different. When Liz asks why the FBI is chasing him, Chris says they believe his ability could help with national security. He refuses because his visions are limited, but with Liz, those limits disappear, something the FBI doesn't yet know. Chris hands Liz an envelope containing $10,000 and tells her to set her watch 7 minutes ahead. He writes instructions on a piece of paper and tells her to follow them exactly 45 seconds after he leaves. He promises that whether it takes a week or a month, he'll find her again. After kissing her goodbye, Chris walks out. Outside, Callie realizes something isn't right.
Something's wrong.
She rushes out and raises her binoculars, only to see Chris already outside, staring straight in her direction. Without hesitation, Chris jumps down the nearby slope and takes off. Callie immediately orders all agents to pursue and capture him alive. Following Chris's instructions, Liz starts the car, puts it in gear, and drives it down the slope. The car crashes into a water tower, causing it to collapse and sending heavy logs and equipment rolling downhill. As Chris runs through the wooded slope, the terrorist sniper fires, but Chris sees it coming and dodges the bullet at the last second. Logs, debris, and the runaway car thunder down the slope, blocking the agents chasing him. Chris narrowly avoids being crushed, calculating each move perfectly as he escapes to the bottom of the mountain. Callie is already there, waiting with her gun raised.
You know you're not gonna shoot?
She sees massive logs rolling down the mountain straight toward her. She realizes that the only way to stop Chris is to sacrifice herself and provoke him into rescuing her.
You gonna let me die?
Unable to leave her, Chris rushes forward and pulls her to safety just as the debris crashes around them, trapping them both. More agents arrive, and Callie immediately orders them to take Chris into custody.
No good deed goes unpunished, does it?
From a distance, Smith and his men watch as Chris is captured. Smith calmly makes a call and orders one of his operatives to abduct Liz and use her as bait. Moments later, the man drives up to her, points a gun, and kidnaps her. Afterward, Chris is taken to FBI headquarters where he's strapped to a chair. Special clamps are used to hold his eyelids open, preventing him from blinking or closing his eyes. Once everything is set, Callie thanks him for saving her earlier, then turns on a television. The plan is simple. Chris will watch live broadcasts and look into the future to see when and where the nuclear bomb will be detonated.
And every television station in the world will broadcast the precise details of its detonation. Push that 2 minutes as far as you can and find it.
If I do what you want, it'll keep me in this chair forever.
As he focuses, Chris is pulled into a vision of the future. In a news report set 2 hours ahead, reporters reveal that a woman has been strapped to explosives, tied to a wheelchair, and abandoned on the roof of a parking garage. To Chris's horror, the woman is Liz.
I'm sorry.
He watches as bomb squad officers carefully approach her, trying to save her. Suddenly, the terrorists detonate the bomb, killing Liz instantly. Overcome with panic, Chris snaps back to the present. Callie immediately asks what he saw, but Chris refuses to tell her. Instead, he insists that he can help them better if he's taken out of the room. Callie reluctantly agrees and orders him moved to a holding cell. Chris is placed in a holding cell. He asks for a cigarette, and when the guards are briefly distracted, he attacks them, using his foresight to anticipate their every move. He incapacitates them with ease and slips out of the cell. The alarm is triggered, throwing the entire building into lockdown. Callie and several agents give chase as Chris runs through the facility. A helicopter tracks his movement from above while he heads toward the parking garage he saw in his vision. Chris makes it inside and rushes up to the roof. Callie orders her team to stay back and follows him alone, gun drawn. On the rooftop, Chris stands at a distance from the spot where he knows Liz will be killed. Callie confronts him, demanding to know why he's there. Chris finally confesses that Liz will die on that roof in 2 hours. Callie offers him a deal. She'll help him save Liz if he helps them find the bomb. He agrees, and they quickly come up with a plan. She believes the terrorists are using Chris as bait.
10 to 1, you go out in that roof, they're gonna put a bullet in your brain.
I know.
She orders a shutdown of all radio and telecommunications signals in the area. The idea is to let Chris walk into the open so the sniper reveals himself. When the shot is fired, Chris will fake being hit, exposing the shooter's location so the FBI can take him down. Chris walks into the open area of the garage. When Chris reaches the center, the sniper fires. Chris dodges the bullet at the last second but collapses, pretending he's been shot. The sniper tries to contact his superiors, but the call doesn't go through because of the shutdown. The FBI detects his location from the gunshot and eliminates him immediately.